Hey everyone, Cool Kid here. Sorry for the long hiatus, but weird and obscure stuff is back, and I've got a lot to talk about. I've kept you all waiting long enough. Spoiler warning like always, and without further ado, let's rock. Nezha's Blazing Chakram can be detonated midair like a glaive if you press heavy attack while in melee mode. It only explodes if it's on its way back to you though, otherwise it just returns immediately. Certain cosmetics, like Lavos' gloves, wing ephemeras, and the Imuki Prime shoulder armor, disappear when aiming down the sight. Zaku's Vast on Time explosion deals void damage, meaning it can kill the Legatus special attack clones instantly. Granum crowns can be picked up by Vortex. The credit drop increase from Secure Electa scales with Mastery rank of all things, going from 2 times credits at MR8, where the weapon is first obtainable, to 4 times credits at MR18. Duplex Bond can spawn companion clones in Arcwing. Allied specters from other players become hostile after a host migration. The fragmented Anchorite can be staggered by his own lasers. Dagger heavy attacks open enemies to finishers. I mentioned in a prior episode that Vengeful Revenant is used as the default stance for Broken War, but some other weapons also have default stances. Paracesis, Graham, and Galatine use Tempo Royale. Iron Renewal and Reckoning's armor strip can be done when standing on a Kuva Lich's cursed ground. In this Jupiter tile in ESO, Oxium can be dropped by destroying the machinery around the map. Glast is actually miming holding a gun. To be honest, I only know this because my camera bugged out. Parrying the sword explosions in Kullervo's second phase staggers him like a normal parry. Gauss gains battery meter when reviving an ally. This crystal at the end of Sentient Anomalies in Railjack can be shattered by Paracesis. This was actually originally how you got the Era cutscene. Revenant can still take damage from environmental hazards during Mesmer Skin, but can't die as the ability won't let his health drop below 2. Revenant can also use abilities subsumed over his 3 during his ultimate. Slatra in Call missions turns into a regular machete if swapped for another melee. If you're standing on a domestic drone in Railjack when it dies, you'll die instantly, skipping the bleed out. Wrathful Advance's crit buff applies to Rumbled's thrown rocks. Roar doesn't give you more damage against Oro Worms as the rings use object health. If you hide holstered weapons, they'll still show up when you're invisible. Picking up a telemetry key in Assault does limbo and then rolling drops the key. Additional combo count chance and chance to gain combo count are actually 2 separate ribbon stats. I'm guessing the first is the positive version and the second is the negative version. Trying to throw Wolf Sledge on a ledge flings you forward. Wall latching prevents you from moving during certain forced movement abilities like Garuda's one. Mods apparently render backwards, though the explanation for this is kinda difficult. I'll leave this forum post by Bala de Silver in the description. As far as I know, they discovered and documented this, but to summarize, the game renders layers of mods backwards, so while the 3D effect normally works fine, in some instances you can get the background to clip and render over the foreground. The corrupted Lancer Spectre blueprint still uses the old model. Kuva Liches can grab Mirage clones from sleight of hand, which turns them off until the ability expires. Sonic Boom can armor strip without the augment, taking 3 casts to do so, independent of strength. Liches on Mars can steal mirror defense rewards like Citrine parts. Combat Discipline won't damage you if you're on a gun in Railjack, but if you get off of it after using an ability that deals damage, like Seeker Volley, each kill while off the gun from that ability does deal damage. If you swap to Dual Decurion during an Arc Gun idle, it will play the Warframe's weaponless idle. Despite both being 110% multi-shot when maxed, damage with Amalgam Barrel Diffusion shows slightly lower than Galvanized Diffusion. According to Soeli over on the Discord, this is apparently due to a rounding error that makes it 109.59% multi-shot. You can carry Duviri excavation batteries between Undercroft segments and even back to Duviri itself. The strain set for Helminth chargers actually makes the charger much, much bigger, scaling with every cyst it has. Terminals and mobile defense only appear after the previous one has been completed. When a player blesses in Strata Relay, the statue loses collision after turning into their Warframe. This only appears to happen in Strata, as the statue retains collision in other relays. You can ride the rotating circle in the Assault control room on the Kuva Fortress. Wisps 2 copies her skin, colors, and prime details, but doesn't copy her Syandana or attachments. Wisp's motes also have unique, faint sound effects when picked up, which I'll play now. Wisp also has a unique walking sound like Cyanax and Lavos, being a more ethereal sound as she floats. Mirage's sleight of hand booby traps nearby alarms, baiting enemies into hacking them for them to then be exploded. Thing is, if the enemy survives the explosion, or if they have overguard, they'll just hack the thing anyway, which leads to lockdowns very frequently. In armor hacking, if the line is vertical or horizontal, you have an axial symmetry, but if the line is diagonal, you have a central symmetry. This isn't really that obscure, it's honestly just kinda weird. Catalyzing Shields is the only corrupted mod to not have a prime frame and weapon on it. Stalta's Altfire won't detonate if shot in water. You can cast Parasitic Link on Hall of Mirrors clones. Only Stefano and Umbriel can be turned into Fissure missions on Uranus, because missions that can go Sharkwing aren't eligible. Next here is a little New War lightning round courtesy of Eliu over on the Discord. First up, Teshin can bypass the elemental gimmick on Sentience by performing finishers. Teshin also has different combos for each alignment, and his Orvius absorbs the element he's using. I'll link the full video he posted showcasing this effect in the description. The Drifter can kill Pobbers and veiled enemies during the Veil segment of the quest by slide kicking them. Alright, back to normal. The Jackal shrinks massively when Parazon finishered, and conversely, Kubro finishers often fuck with scaling too. Was that in a prior episode? I don't know, this is Season 2, we're just gonna reboot that shit. Syndicate Deathmark transmissions can cover hacking screens, which is honestly just really funny. Liches can grapple and throw excavators, which... what the actual fuck? Arcane Intention, which gives more max health for every channeled ability active, considers a lot of weird stuff to be channeled. This includes Tectonics, Mass Vitrify while it's casting, Immolation, Kinetic Plating and Redline, Arc Sphere and Coil Horizon, but only while the spheres are in motion, all of Hildren's abilities, including Pillage, Lavos' Vile Rush, Stasis and Cataclysm, Magnetize when hold cast, Ballistic Battery, Divine Spears, Hallowed Ground only if the Augment is used, Larva, Mind Control, Crucible Blast during the cast animation, Reeve, Well of Life, Will-O-Wisp when tap cast, Cloudwalker, Defy, Marilina, and Riptide, but again only when tap cast. Mind you, this isn't everything it's affected by, just the things that it really shouldn't affect. Weirdest of them all though is Ivara, who has all of her abilities count. This makes sense for most of them, but for some reason, Quiver counts as channeled as long as the arrow is actively airborne and it stops counting when it hits something. You can use Navigator to prolong this, and as it's also a channeled ability, this doubles the bonus health. Necros' Shadows can proc arcanes that require specific damage types, like Cascadia Flare, Primary Blight and Frostbite, and Conjunction Voltage. They also benefit from certain gun decrees, like Wormling's Aid. Corinth's sound for pumping the shotgun changes when it gets low on ammo. This laser insta-kills Barrow. In this Entrati Labs room, you can skip finding the vent and open the gate from the outside by using an AoE amp like the 7 scaffold, or Zaku's 4. Nidus' Parasitic Link is also a multiplicative damage buff, which means that Exalteds benefit from it twice, the strength for their base damage and the damage buff applied to weapons. Neferi and Vertilak's unique combos stretch your Warframe in unnatural and frankly disturbing ways. What is going on? How did this ship, honestly? When previewing the new Strange Quest with certain frames equipped, their non-interactable attachments will be placed on Chroma. As a few examples, you've been seeing Sevagoth, and this is Ivara Prime. For some reason, the Arc Melee Elemental mod for Electric is 11 drain instead of 9 like all the other elementals. Syndicate medallions can be turned in to go beyond the daily cap, but this seemingly only works for traditional syndicates, not groups like the Kavia or Holdfasts. Unlike most weapon types, Wisp stays floating when she aims down sight with a bow. Captured Solaris and Fortuna bounties can take buffs that affect allies, like speed. If you jump high enough to peer over the lasers, you can also teleport inside as Ash or Loki, though this only works for some locations. Out of here. No, there is it won't let me. Unstuck, put me back in the cell! Oh shit! Oh no! They locked my ass up, please! Let me out! No! I didn't do it! There are a few chat-linkable noggles that, while finished, aren't actually obtainable. These are the noggles for Harrow, Korra, and... Boral? Wait, the guy from the original Vor intro? He has a name? Rogue Void Rigs in the Andrade labs can spawn as Eximus units. Enemies summoned from this void portal in the labs don't scale with level, instead being stuck at 55. Ceto's alt-fire doesn't require ammo to shoot, but can't be fired if you're out of ammo. Zephyr's tornadoes can still pull in enemies if you're using the augment, because they can proc melee vortex. This vessel in the Sanctum has a beating heart. You can also find Albric's pager out here, and... what the fuck is that? You actually return to the starting room when leaving ESO, and while that's normally covered up by the fade to white, you can clear that screen effect by entering your operator. The tail of the Frost Heirloom Signa will disappear on Chromo when his pelt is off. This also goes for Mag's Heirloom Signa with its ribbons. Saya and Kanzu constantly try to make eye contact with the player, which leads to some weird stuff, to put it lightly. You can parry the Dax Rider's Shockwave. You can stealth finisher enemies in Duviri, which uses the double dagger finisher animation. Corpus Cassius falling from the sky on the Valis can knock you down if they hit you. Exiting Duviri has a chance to show the Void Lua skybox from the Second Dream. Heralds can knock themselves down with their own tornado. Arcus Aerostorms also have friendly fire enabled. Hitting a grounded Gravid Blastema that hasn't broken with a fishing spear causes some weird stuff to happen. You can farm melee combo after downing a conservation target with the Shrank Rifle and then hitting them repeatedly. I said I was going to stop abusing Verminx for this series. Bone Widow's Slide Attack absorbs the damage of her Iron Bride if you have it active. Cinta's pieces have a unique model when dropped. Necromex will actually scrape their head against the tops of doors and railjack tile sets. The drone objective for Narmer bounties on Fortuna contains this custom drone which... Ew, what the fuck is that thing? Narmer also has the unique Narmer Arachnoid as its bounty objective boss, which can actually drop ambassador parts. Alright, that's a wrap. Like and sub and all that dumb shit. I don't know, you guys get it by now. Actually, apparently these days if I say to smash that like button, it makes the like button glow. Does that actually work? I don't really care, to be honest. You can also join the Discord using the link in the description, and I stream on Sundays at 5:30 PM or so CST. Though, if you're watching this on release, not this week, I'm gonna be out of town for a bit. Sorry again for the long hiatus, by the way. Real life caught up to me and made things kinda messy, but I'm back and planning on hammering out plenty more stuff. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again, ideally much sooner than normal, in Volume 12. Phoenix suicide arc? Oh my god!